It's an honor to be here tonight, and thank you everyone for being here. It is unfortunate that Kyle couldn't be here, but luckily he felt comfortable reaching out to me. I've known Kyle longer than I care to remember now. I knew him when he was a punk private, a punk specialist, and now I know him as a Punk Medal of Honor recipient. And I think he was very forthcoming with it. Right? He just said, you heard the story of what he went through. I mean, to awake at 21 years old after being knocked out, and your buddies around you are wounded and dying, and you have to get to the task of trying to save as many of them as you can before he thought he was going to die. And that day, it snuck up on him this year. We talked about it. It does. It happens from time to time. You're doing well throughout the year. You had planned to be here. You had planned to do other things this Veterans Day week, and he wasn't expecting it. It's been 8 years, and it hits him around this time, and it can hit us at any time during the year. I think it's an example that none of us are immune. I'm not immune. I know that there are guys that serve with Kyle and I that, to me, are just absolute warriors. Guys that have done 40-plus months in combat, some that have just done 2 tours and gotten out and gone home. And it's all impacted us differently. Hey, there's no rule book here, and I thought it was particularly important that home base is listed in the services and the invisible wounds. It's not just PTS. There's anxiety, there's depression, there's all these things. And I think it's easy sometimes to jump to the conclusion that you hear invisible wounds and you think of post-traumatic stress, and I don't think it's this all-encompassing that, you've been downrange, guess what, you're stamped with post-traumatic stress. A lot of these guys have come back. We come back different, not just because of the bad things that we see, but also for what the military meant to us, for the brotherhood, to come home and lose that and come back and feel like maybe you don't fit in back here. And it's been interesting to see my friends transition and not know that they're struggling, and then for them to finally come out and say it. And these are the same guys that I'm talking about that are warriors that I would never think any less of them. There's nothing they could ever do to disappoint me or let me down. And for them to say, hey man, I'm going and getting some help, and I can almost hear shame or disappointment in their own voice. And it always catches me off guard because I just don't understand it. They're brothers. We're brothers. I love them. You twist an ankle, you break a leg, you're going to go do physical therapy. Why is that any different if you get a little banged up in your squash? Right? And I just look at them and hey, thanks, man. And I'm not alone. They're not alone. I've done it. And I made the same mistake. There's something that Jack said one time. I can't remember whether he said it publicly speaking or if it was one of his Jack-isms on the side. But he was talking about we're raised in the military to play hurt. And that stuck with me. That's something they always ask you. You twist your ankle, you get hurt doing a jump, road march, whatever, and your leader might ask you, so what, are you hurt or are you injured? And there's a distinct difference there. And we all fight, and most of the time, 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to say, no, I'm hurt. They're going to pick up and they're going to drive on because they don't want their buddies to think any less of them. And I think sometimes that can set us up for failure a little bit as civilians. We get out here on our own, and for whatever reason, as veterans and people that have been to war, we think that we should be able to, handle the civilian world, that nothing should touch us, and you think you should just drive on. And we got to know the difference between when you're driving on, are you hurt or are you injured? You got to take a cold, hard look in the mirror, do your gut check, whatever it was. Do what Kyle did. He just picked up the phone and told me. He said, "Hey, man, I'm thinking I don't think I can do this. I don't think it's good for me right now." I went through a little bit of that last year. I was having a hard time, and for me, it comes out of nowhere. I mean, I hear a song on the radio. I look at my kids, and I realize how fortunate I am to be here when 9 of my brothers aren't. They made it possible for me to be here. And I struggled on, actually, for a number of months thinking, no, I got this. I'm just hurt. I'm not injured. And it was actually my wife, Amy, that gave me a kick in the butt. And she said, no, I know you're tough, but when are you going to get this? And that made me think, like, wow, I've been saying I'm going to get this for 6 months now. And went and talked to somebody, and that's all it took. I think we as veterans also need to be easier on ourselves. We went through these experiences in combat, and we can't expect to just come back and step right into a normal life. We're going to spend a lifetime processing experiences that take a lifetime to process. You know, you hear of people getting in car accidents or being in a plane crash or something terrible happening, and they spend their whole life living with those things and working through them. And so we can't expect to just be magically better, but it also doesn't mean that we're broken. You may go talk to somebody and you're just going to find out, that might be what you need to find out, that, oh yeah, you're not broken. What you've went through is a very, what you're feeling is a very natural reaction to some very unnatural experiences. And Home Base is just a remarkable organization. I had the opportunity 2 years ago to first get involved with them, and you know, their approach from the get-go just kind of showed me that they understand veterans and what they're going through, and it was just that taught me a lot about the organization. It was Roger Knight. He's here tonight. It's good to see you, Roger. And he reached out to me, and it wasn't a direct ask. He's a pretty smooth guy. And he invited me down, and my wife and I, Amy, we got to go down and we got to tour. At that point, it was just the regional clinic and learn about the work that they're doing. And I got to come and speak at the event and see what they do there. And then I've just watched them. And Jack's got his hook in me, and so has the rest of the organization, and been able to watch them grow. And to see them so singularly focused on their core competencies and not stray from that, but just look from beyond taking care of the veterans that we have here in New England to all over the country. I don't know if you understand how big of a deal that is for those of us that have served on active duty, because all my best friends, all my brothers live in Ohio and Texas and all these places that aren't New England for whatever God knows reason. But they can come here. They can come here now, and I push it hard on them, right? This is, I get to see so many organizations, and Home Base really is the tip of the spear. It is a special organization. And still, there's challenges with that. Regardless of how special they are, I still have to pressure my brothers to try and get there. God, we are a stubborn group. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. And I want to hold those guys' heads in a tub for about 5 minutes till they stop moving, and then bring them back and tell them they're going. It's tough, but Home Base gets it. They do. And I think we're going to get there. And in large part, we got great leaders here in the area. Governor Baker, Mayor Walsh, the Red Sox Foundation, Mass General, all the community, the citizens. This is a team effort. Just like what got Kylan out on that day was not anything that any one individual did. It was a group of people coming together to take care of one another. The invisible wounds of war do not define who we are, what we do, or where we're going. Thank you.